In 2005, a 28-year-old man named David Harris sat in his beat-up 1999 Ford Taurus, parked behind a closed grocery store in Chicago. He had nothing but a high school diploma, a few short-term jobs on his resume, no savings, and no family to call for help. He had just lost his girlfriend and his tiny apartment because he couldn't make rent. As the wind rattled the car windows, David stared at the ceiling, asking himself a question that millions of people quietly face. How did I end up here? This isn't just a story about hitting rock bottom. It's a story about what happens next. It's a story about resilience, small steps, and the incredible power of just showing up, day after day. David grew up in a small town in Michigan. His life wasn't a movie. His parents worked long, hard hours and didn't have much time for him. School was a challenge. He wasn't the top student, he wasn't the star athlete, and he wasn't the most popular kid in class. He was just David. After high school, he gave community college a shot, but the weight of tuition and bills became too heavy, forcing him to drop out. Like so many before him, he moved to the big city, Chicago, chasing the dream of a better life. But the reality of the city hit him fast and hard. The job market was ruthless, rent was impossibly high, and he had no safety net. For a while, he managed to scrape by, working one retail job after another, making deliveries, just trying to keep his head above water. It was exhausting, but he was making it work. That is, until the economy took a nosedive, and he found himself unemployed. With no income, David's small savings evaporated almost overnight. Soon, the apartment was gone. His car, that old Ford Taurus, became his bedroom, his dining room, and his office. Sleeping in a car is uncomfortable and cramped. But sleeping in a car with the constant, knowing fear of being discovered, of being seen as a failure, is terrifying. He learned to wash up in public restrooms and survive on the cheapest meals he could find. He fought to hold onto his dignity while living in a space smaller than a closet. Every single day, he applied for jobs, first dozens, then hundreds. But the rejections became a routine, a demoralizing drumbeat in his life. Some interviews even went well, but the outcome was always the same. They chose someone more experienced or a better cultural fit. Humiliation became a constant companion. One night, clutching the steering wheel, David broke down and cried, whispering to himself, maybe I'm thus not cut out for success. It felt like the end of the road. But sometimes, a turning point doesn't arrive with a thunderclap. It starts with a quiet observation. One morning, while walking past a small, bustling coffee shop, David noticed the owner was completely overwhelmed. Boxes were stacked everywhere. Employees were frustrated, and simple mistakes were causing major delays in deliveries. David saw a problem he knew how to solve. He approached the owner cautiously. I used to manage logistics for a small company, he said, keeping his voice steady. I could help out, just for a few hours, if you need it. The owner was hesitant, but desperate enough to agree. David started working in the evenings. After the shop closed, he organized the stockroom, created a simple schedule for deliveries, and streamlined their whole process. Within a single week, the chaos was gone. The store ran more efficiently, employees were less stressed, and the owner was amazed. That impressed owner told a friend who owned a small bakery. Then the bakery owner told a friend who ran a bookstore. Soon, other small businesses were calling David. He never advertised. He didn't have a website or a social media page. His reputation grew from one simple thing. He quietly and effectively solved problems for people who needed help. Word of mouth became his marketing department. By 2008, just 3 years after sleeping in his car, David had enough freelance clients to rent a small studio apartment. The feeling of turning his own key in his own door was a victory he would never forget. He didn't stop there. He hired to friends he had met while living on the streets, giving them not just a job, but fair wages and a structured, supportive place to work. The business grew, but it grew slowly and steadily. Each client he helped brought in another one. His reputation wasn't built on flashy marketing or empty promises, but on three pillars: reliability, honesty, and results. He officially named his growing operation Harris Solutions, specializing in logistics consulting for the small businesses that bigger firms often ignored. During these formative years, David learned lessons that no business school could ever teach. He learned that failure is not final. Being homeless and unemployed didn't have to define him. It was just a chapter in his story, not the whole book. He learned that helping others is the most powerful way to build credibility. By solving real problems for struggling businesses, he created a foundation of trust that was unbreakable. Most importantly, he learned that small, consistent steps matter more than giant leaps. His early, unpaid hours in that coffee shop were the seeds that grew into a thriving business. He understood that persistence can often outweigh raw talent. He simply outworked everyone else, stayed focused on his goal, and refused to give up, no matter how many times he was knocked down. By 2012, Harris Solutions had 10 full-time employees and a growing roster of clients who swore by their services. The man who once couldn't afford a meal was now creating jobs for others. In 2015, David was invited to speak at a local entrepreneur seminar. Standing in front of a room full of aspiring business owners, he shared his story, holding nothing back. "I slept in my car," he told them. "I was rejected hundreds of times, but every single day, I tried. Every day, I worked. Every day, I learned. And that is what built my life." He wasn't speaking for applause. He was speaking to give someone in that room the hope they needed to keep going. Afterward, dozens of people came up to thank him, their eyes filled with a new sense of determination. His story had shown them that their own struggles were not a dead end. David never forgot where he came from. He started a small foundation to support homeless youth, providing them with career guidance and mentoring them in entrepreneurship. He saw himself in these determined, but struggling young adults and dedicated his time to helping them find their own path. By 2020, Harris Solutions had over 50 employees and was serving clients across multiple states. David lived in a modest house, drove a reliable car, not a flashy one, and found his greatest joy not in his bank account, but in helping others succeed. David's journey offers us a powerful set of takeaways. It teaches us that your starting point doesn't have to determine your end point. It shows us that small, honest effort, compounded over time, can build an empire of its own. It proves that helping others is not just a good deed, but a brilliant strategy for creating your own opportunities. And above all, it reminds us that resilience and persistence will always beat a lucky break or instant success in the long run. So, if you're out there right now, feeling stuck, feeling rejected, or feeling invisible, I want you to remember David's story. Life may have knocked you down. You may feel like you're parked behind a closed grocery store with nowhere to go. But that is not the end. It cannot stop you from rising again, one small, determined step at a time. Because where you are today does not define where you'll be tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. We'll see you in the next one.